every time I use a rideshare, I'm forced to ride without a seatbelt because there are no seatbelt extenders. It's time to make it mandatory for rideshares to provide seatbelt extenders. Read the caption for more. What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video. Today we're going to be talking about JBay. We talked about JBay a few times recently. The first time that we ever actually kind of mentioned JBay and we learned about her was that she had this petition that she was trying to get a lot of people to sign to help with plus size travels.
I've started a petition calling on the FAA to require every airline to have a clear customer size policy in place for plus size passengers. No one should have to endure the discomfort, embarrassment, and discrimination that often comes with being a plus size passenger trying to navigate air travel. By signing this petition, you can help us demand that airlines take concrete steps to make air travel more inclusive and accommodating for all passengers. Whether you're plus size or not, everybody deserves to be treated with dignity and respect when they fly.
So one thing that JBay is super popular for is trying to advocate more for plus size people and travel. And then more recently, there has been some things that have gone on that we've talked about that have garnered quite a bit of attention on social media. The first thing is JBay let people know that apparently there was this thing that happened at an airport where the person that was supposed to be pushing them in a wheelchair basically, from what she says, decided they didn't want to do that and made them follow them through the airport without the wheelchair. And she said that she was getting blue in the lips and she felt like she was almost going to pass out, and she was really upset about that.
I was then forced to walk up one of the longest jet bridges I've encountered, and she didn't stop. By the time she let me reach the wheelchair and sit down, my lips were white. My oxygen levels had dropped and I almost fainted. This was my first time flying without oxygen. This woman...
So I think the craziest thing to me is that to be in that position where just walking down a jet bridge, which it might be the longest one you've ever seen, but none of those are insanely long, is causing you to a point where your lips are turning white and you can barely breathe. I don't understand how you don't see that happening to you and think to yourself, I really need to make a change because this is a life that I don't want to live. So she made a video about that. And then not long after that, she claimed that basically she wasn't able to fit through a specific door and that people at the airport that worked there were just laughing at her and didn't have any sympathy. So those are a few things that have happened recently. And there has been another thing that has popped up that I feel is worth talking about. So let's get into that now. So this is the video right here. And the caption goes on to say, every time I use a rideshare, I'm forced to go without a seatbelt because no seatbelt extenders are available. This is a common issue for many plus-size individuals. This isn't just inconvenient, it's unsafe. It should be mandatory for rideshares to provide at least one seatbelt extender per vehicle. Companies should reimburse drivers for the cost, which averages around $20. Although I always bring a universal seatbelt extender with me, they often don't work. If each driver carried at least one seatbelt extender specifically fitted for their vehicle, this problem could be eliminated. Safety for all sizes should not be optional. Agree? Question mark. Right? And I'm going to go ahead and play this video. There's music that we can't listen to because it will get copyright, so we're not going to hear any of it. But basically, you don't even hear her voice. It's just an AI that's reading this. But it goes on to say, every time I use a rideshare, I'm forced to ride without a seatbelt because there are no seatbelt extenders, right? And then it says, it's time to make it mandatory for rideshares to provide seatbelt extenders. Read more. Read the caption for more. And then it's a very strange thing because this video is over a minute long, but after about 13 seconds, the rest of it is literally just this screen that says, follow me, follow me, follow me, right? So I don't really understand. I'm assuming it's something with the algorithm. Like if your video is over a minute long, that might get pushed better. So that's why she decided to just have it end with this very long follow me screen. Kind of strange, but you know, whatever. TikTok is a strange place. So yeah. And so basically she is stating that, you know, if an Uber driver does not have a seatbelt extender, that's almost basically discriminatory, and it's their job to provide that for customers that might be the size of JBay or similar. So obviously when I see this, like for me, I can understand the want to be safe while you're driving, right? Like I get that. I understand like driving is scary, getting in an accident is scary, that stuff, right? But it's interesting to me that, again, this is what we've talked about with JBay in the past, is that these are situations that, in my opinion, she has put herself in, right? Being this size, but then she doesn't like she claims, again, that she is disabled, right? Her size is making her disabled. Okay, fair enough. But to expect, it's like, I am disabled is what she's claiming. But she expects everyone else in the world to change how they do things for her instead of going through like the proper channels. Like if I was someone that was, or someone that's probably in a wheelchair, right? That knows that they're going to need specific help and different accommodations, they're not going to call a general Uber to get around, right? Like they understand that it's not going to work for them. They have to find I'm sure there are plenty of services for them that they know and that they can use that will be great for them, right? They're not going to expect the Uber to change everything the way that they are situated because they have this, they have these accommodations they need. But with J-Bay, it's almost like, I am disabled and I have all of these issues and everyone else needs to fix everything for me, and I don't need to do, basically, I shouldn't have to do any work, or it shouldn't have to be any more difficult for me to get around. And again, like we've talked about this before and how I feel, like I think that it is, I think it's slightly disrespectful for her to call herself disabled on the same level as someone that is in a wheelchair and they have no choice, right? Or whatever other disability someone might have, that there's no changing it, right? I've said this many times, when it comes to being the size that J-Bay is, or just being overweight in general, there is some personal change that you can make to mitigate that, right? Like I personally believe that J-Bay could make enough of a change to where she doesn't have to be on oxygen, because she's claimed that that's something that she needs, right? To where she wouldn't need a wheelchair whenever she goes out, because she could use her own feet to get around, right? Those are things that she is capable of doing. But again, because of how deep she's gotten into the fat acceptance or whatever kind of community you want to call it, she genuinely believes that it is probably impossible for her to lose weight. And so because of that belief, it makes it so she can make these claims, and it makes sense in her head along with a lot of other people that are in the same space, right? Because they genuinely believe there is nothing they can do to change. They are just as disabled as someone that is, born and they've been in a wheelchair their whole life or whatever, right? They genuinely believe that that's the same thing. And so you wouldn't ask someone that's in a wheelchair to change. So why would you ask me to change? It's like they see it as one and the same. And it's interesting reading through the comments, right? Because some of the top comments is like, wait, why don't you just bring your own, right? She claims that she does bring her own. But again, it's interesting. And there's even like, there's like even more comments where it's people saying like, you should bring your own. That's some of the top comments here, right? And I think that that's interesting because again, she claims that she does that already. But it's interesting to me because like we've said before, it's like she just sees it as this is something that's difficult for me and it's like a inconvenience. So literally every single Uber driver should get a seatbelt extender and then be reimbursed by Uber. That's her solution. Like that just isn't realistic. Like that's just not going to happen, right? When the much easier option is for you, if you like have one, she claims she has one seatbelt extender that a lot of times doesn't work. Okay, maybe you need to get multiple. I don't know what to tell you. If like, because again, her whole thing is plus size travel. You see it here, right? Plus size travel. That's her whole shtick. That's the whole thing that she posts about. If that is such a big thing for you, I think it makes sense for you to be well equipped and ready for these situations that are going to arise. And I know her answer would be, well, it's not fair. I shouldn't have to do that, right? But at the end of the day, like, yeah, you kind of do. Like, you have put yourself in a position where you need extraordinary services to get around. That's just a fact, right? I wouldn't even say that she disagrees with that. And so because of that, you should be as equipped and ready as possible to make it the most enjoyable experience for yourself. It genuinely feels at this point that she likes to quote unquote travel because she is able to find content to complain about on the internet. That's what it feels like. It doesn't even feel like she enjoys traveling at this point. It feels like she enjoys finding something to complain about and finding something to post about online because you know, they monetize that TikTok, monetize those videos, and all of those things are monetized. She is making money off of this, right? And so it just, that's honestly the vibe that I get off of this. That brings up another point that I wanted to bring up. So this is just a TikTok of her just dancing at this club bar thing. I don't really know exactly. Again, we can't play the audio, but it's just her sitting on a chair kind of dancing or whatever, right? But if we look at the comments, the majority of them are not the nicest, but it illustrates a point that I want to make, right? So some of the top comments are, I'm a mom with two truly disabled kids. It's debilitating, not from their choices in life. I have been obese, but I never use it as an excuse to shame every institution around me. Work on your life, right? And then dancing in that chair causes you, because you weigh too much to stand up, question marks. I'm surprised they let you in. No way you're dancing. You can't even walk at a grocery store. So again, the point that I want to illustrate here is that she has put herself in a position, in my opinion, where like this is who she is online, and there is no really getting out of that. And I always think it's very interesting for people that are in these positions, right? People that put themselves in these positions of, you know, the fat acceptance kind of stuff. Like once they say if J-Bay ever does get to a point where she does want to lose weight, like the fact that she is going to have that extra, she doesn't have to deal with that extra ridiculousness that is being the position that she's at right now, and then having to say, I want to lose weight, and dealing with basically the backlash that a lot of people, not everyone, but a lot of people are going to have, because they're like, what do you mean? Like, especially from the fat acceptance community, of people are going to be upset, which I think is kind of crazy. But then you have to deal with knowing that there's going to be so many people that are just going to be like, I told you so. I knew it was coming. See, like no one likes to be told I told you so. You know what I mean? And so like that definitely is going to play into if she ever decides that she has to lose weight or something has to happen, right? I don't know. That's something that's really, really interesting to me that I always kind of think about, but I'm genuinely curious. What do y'all think down in the comment section down below? Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.